The Truth Outreach Ministry. Our special guest today is Brother Karl Priest. He's with Exodus Mandate. Karl, could you tell us what that means?
First of all, I want to say hello to you, Brother Haig, and it's so great to be here in your church. It was good to visit last Sunday briefly, and I look forward to being back tonight. To answer your question.
Tonight at 6 o'clock, right?
Tonight at 6 o'clock.
We invite everybody listening to be with us at 6 o'clock at the Hurricane Bible Church, and Brother Karl Priest will be sharing some studies with us and things that he has learned as a school teacher for 34 years, right?
That's correct. Public school teacher, and I was also a principal for 3 years in Roane County, and a public school teacher-wise in Kanawha County the rest of the time.
Now you have your master's degree, you say?
I do have a master's in administration, yes.
Yes.
My specialty was math, but I worked with children from kindergarten through 9th grade. Was on the junior high level for a while.
Now, Karl, let's go back to the first question. What is Exodus Mandate?
Okay, Exodus Mandate is a project originated by a retired Army chaplain, Ray Moore. And he lives in South Carolina right now. He was a homeschooler when he had his children, and the Lord laid it on his heart back in around 1995 when the Clinton administration introduced something called Goals 2000. A lot of Christians were bothered by that at the time, and Brother Moore, who's connected with the Southern Baptist Church, wanted to encourage Southern Baptist Christians, but any Christian, to exodus from the public schools, and that's how it got the name. He feels it's a mandate from God. Well, Goals 2000 came and went. We're in 2007 now, so we now go by Exodus Mandate. Originally, it was Exodus 2000.
I see. Now, he was in the service, right?
Yes, he's an Army chaplain, and he was a veteran of one of the Gulf war conflicts over there. I'm not sure which one. I think it was the original one.
I see. So that caught your ear, I guess, and you gathered information and went to work with him without pay, right?
I'm a volunteer coordinator. This is a ministry that I think I need to do at this stage of my life. There's no doubt the Lord's led me to do this. How I got connected with Brother Moore was I was a teacher in Kanawha County battling for the truth of science to be taught. In other words, the lie of evolution be exposed. And he heard about it. This was about 5 years ago, and he contacted me, and he told me then that he wanted to talk to me at some point about being a state coordinator. He only has 10 to 20 now state coordinators. As the Lord brings men to the surface, then he talks to them, and we hope to have one in every state soon. We don't have a lot of time, Brother Art.
Yes, well, all right. Now, what are some of the things that you saw in the public school that brought you to this point in your life?
Well, I hope people will come and hear me speak this evening, although what they really need to do is stay afterwards and talk to me and question me in detail. But there's so many things I could bring up. Mainly my focus was battling against evolutionism. And depending on how much detail you want me to get into during this program, I'll be willing to do it. But in a nutshell, I went through 4 battles in Kanawha County over evolutionism, lost every one of them, won a few nuggets, but finally the Lord just showed me what I guess he showed other people a lot sooner, people like you, that the public schools are irredeemable. They will not accept, of course they won't accept anything to do with Christianity, but in this case they wouldn't accept anything to do with the truth of science.
Well, now, you mentioned exposing evolution. In what way did you expose it?
Well, first of all, I asked for a resolution to be passed by the board that explained to teachers what their rights were to teach anything scientific against evolution. At that time, I wasn't even I had no ulterior motives to get creationism in the schools. I just wanted the teachers to have some guidelines. And that started such an uproar, I was amazed that they just didn't pass a simple resolution stating that the teachers could teach scientific facts against evolution, but it started an uproar known as the evolution resolution that went on for several months, and we finally lost that at a board meeting in December.
Amazing, isn't it?
It truly was and is.
Well, what are some of the other things that you said you had 4 battles?
Well, it seemed like every time I finished one thing, the Lord opened up another thing. I definitely, it was in His plan, this timing. First of all, this resolution came about when I saw a memo that had been discarded at the faculty mailbox that was intended for the science teachers, that was talking about the new science curriculum that was going to be adopted. And the Lord had to have me pick up that at that time. But anyway, after the evolution resolution was over, they started to adopt the science textbooks. So I had the board member Betty Jarvis nominate me as one of the teacher representatives. This is something that came about after the 1974 textbook controversy, as they have parents and teachers on committees to screen the books. And really, it's tipped towards the parents really don't have much control. They're there as tokens. I was there as a teacher representative. I wasn't a science teacher. I was a math teacher. And I asked them to adopt a book called Pandas and People, just for science teachers to use as a reference. And that was rejected. And you know, Brother Art, the thing that amazed me, the night it was rejected, a parent got up in the board meeting and started reading from a book that his daughter was using in her high school English class. It was so obscene, so anti-Christian, that they stopped him from reading. Kanawha County videotapes their board meetings, and they didn't want it to go out onto the program, which was, of course, being taped. It was amazing they stopped adult teachers from having a science book, but they allowed that vile book to stay in the English classes.
Now, you said there were 4 major battles. That was the second one. How about the third?
After that, I filed a grievance telling them, after they failed to act on the evolution resolution, after they shot down the textbook for adult science teachers, I filed a grievance saying, as a teacher, I really don't know what my rights are. And that grievance worked its way up to a state hearing examiner who ruled against me. Once again, that was the third one. And the fourth one after that, just a matter of a few months, was the adoption of the state science standards. And once again, we tried to get the wording changed so it wasn't so dogmatically humanistic and evolutionist, and we tried to get some intelligent design mentioned. That failed, and at that point, that's when I really realized that things were controlled really from the federal level down to the state.
Yeah. Brother Priest, could you tell us the goals of Exodus Mandate?
I'll summarize. There are 5 of them, but I'll summarize them. First of all, we want to urge parents to remove their children from the public schools. We feel it's crucial. They need to do it as soon as possible, without delay. In that regard, we want to work towards helping homeschool families and Christian schools any way we can, through contacts, through networking. I know there's lots of different points of views in the Christian community, but I think we can find a common bond in rescuing our children.
But now, what about Christian school teachers in the public schools?
Christian school teachers in the public schools, in my opinion, would be, if they stay in there, they would be missionaries in a hostile area. As I said Sunday when I was here, very few teachers were as vocal as I was when I was an active teacher, but I still had to pull punches. I still couldn't pray with the children. I still couldn't talk to them about Christ. And I really feel sorry for those Christians that are teachers in the public schools. They have to answer to God for what they do, and I can't pass judgment on them. That'll be between them and God.
Okay, is there any other goals there?
As I was saying, that we want to network with pastors. Really, the key is pastors. The pastors, if they get the message through to their flock, a lot of times they'll listen. I know you and I were chatting just before we went on the air about a lot of people whose hearts are cold, and that's something that maybe you as a pastor could address, and maybe on this program or another one.
All right, and do you have any other goals then?
Those are the main ones. There are 5 altogether. They are on the website. Let me get the website is www.exodusmandate, that's one word, then a hyphen, wv.org. There they can see more about me and a link to my testimony, along with the goals and some other many links that will help them decide whether they should homeschool or Christian school. In my opinion, that's the only rational choice for Christian parents right now, is either homeschool or Christian school.
Now, Brother Karl, you've been saved some time, right?
Yes, I was saved right before I got out of the service in 1968.
But you probably weren't really as close to the Lord as you were during the latter part that drove you to this.
Well, you know, I got out of the service and went straight to college, and I was on fire for the Lord. I started teaching. The textbook controversy hit. I was involved with that, trying to help the people out, and that was really the first shot of this war against humanism. Actually, it was humanism against us. I really think there would have been some success back then had it not been for the violence that sort of broke the back of the majority of the people that were peaceful. And I helped start a Christian school at that time. Different things worked out, some of them because of me, others just disagreements, and I went back to the public schools, but I can see how the Lord had that planned as things developed until I reached this point now.
So you went back into the public school because you believed in it at that time?
No, I didn't. I didn't think it was as bad as it. I didn't think it was as bad as it was, and it has grown worse, and it's only going to grow worser.
Okay. Now, the Governor Manchin, State of the State, growing. Well, tell us some things about that.
Well, in Governor Manchin's own words in his State of the State address this year, he said he has a growing concern about the security in the public schools and bullying. Well, if he has a growing concern of security, that means there's some type of danger on some level for the students. And also, bullying is a code word for the homosexual agenda. I don't know what the governor's position is there, but if he's using that word, I would say that the homosexual activists have his ear.
I know that they're teaching the homosexual things in the public school at this time, are they not?
Well, they're really devious. I'll give you an example of something that happened to me while I was still teaching. I went to a faculty meeting that was supposed to be about stopping bullying. And they had snookered the 2 Christian sponsors of an FCA club, that's a Fellowship of Christian Athletes, to be the sponsors of this. And it was a program from the Attorney General's office. Well, to my amazement, it was all pro-homosexual. They were trying to sneak it through as a anti-bullying program. And I tell you, Brother Art, I've seen some students that on the middle school level that claim to be gay. I've never seen them bullied, and oftentimes they're sort of admired. It's the Christian students that would try to live their lives that have the more danger of being bullied.
Amazing, isn't it?
People really have no idea what's going on. They should go into a classroom. I went to a local high school to speak week before last and was amazed that a male student was wearing a dress and long hair just like a girl. And another one I didn't see, but I was told by the FCA leader he's a blatant bisexual, and he wears a dress around the school at all times.
Amazing. We're in trouble, and the family's in trouble.
Amen.
And this thought here on 2020, Stossel's, what is that about?
John Stossel did a series that just concluded a few months ago, maybe as long as a year, and it was called Stupid in America, where John Stossel didn't make any promotion of the Christian agenda, but he just showed how bad the public schools are. You know, there's lots of people besides people like you and I that know the public schools are a failure. Only parents who are willingly ignorant would keep their children in the public schools, Christian or otherwise.
Jeff, Jacob, I guess it is.
Jacoby.
What's the thought on that?
Well, he's a columnist for the Boston Globe that recently wrote an article that encouraged people to seek freedom in their choices, just like they wouldn't let the government tell them what clothes to wear. They wouldn't let the government tell them, for example, what grocery store to use. Why do they let the government force them to go to a government school?
Pat Buchanan, dumbing down America.
Yeah, Pat Buchanan wrote an article recently. Once again, you're going down through people that are not professing Christians, or if they are, they're nominal Christians. The point is that they know what's happening. Pat Buchanan is very astute. He was talking about the recent test results in the nation's report card about how poorly the public school children are doing despite the billions of dollars that have been pumped into the system.
So are you saying that they're dumbing them down, the children?
Now, the No Child Left Behind Act is supposed to raise standards, but actually it's lowering the bar. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure out that the schools are going to find some way to meet those standards, because money. There's a lot of money involved. They need that federal money.
So what they're doing is they're making the tests weaker and weaker and trying to say that the kids are doing better and better.
I think that's the case, and it's proven when this national report card that we're talking about is given every 2 years or so. It shows how poorly the students are doing, even though they have high grade averages. Also, colleges have instituted what we call bonehead classes that wouldn't have been imagined 30 years ago, because the freshmen coming into the colleges are not functioning in mathematics and reading ability.
The thing that's so scary is the dope that's in the schools and the policemen walking the beat. Can you imagine that?
Well, I finished my career at a middle school in one of the nicer areas of the Charleston area. But we had a deputy on duty, and there were many times when we had to keep the doors locked while the drug-sniffing dogs went up and down the halls to sniff for drugs.
Amazing. The Early Childhood Equity Alliance.
That's a group of educator activists that have come out with a teacher's guide for young children. These would be the preschool children, 3 years old, 4 years old. Very un-American in this specific, one specific item caught my attention. I'm a Navy veteran, and that is they portray the Navy's Blue Angel precision jet flyers as potential bombers of innocent children.
Amazing. So the Secretary of Education, Marge Spellings, tell us about
Margaret
that.
Spellings. She gave a speech to business leaders just recently, in January or February. And in that speech, she said, before No Child Left Behind, which was instituted by the Bush administration probably around 2005, but she said before that, children were just passed from year to year, and we spent millions of dollars and never did really know if they could read, write, or compute. She admitted that as late as 2005, they didn't know what was going on, and in my observation, I don't think the No Child Left Behind Act was miraculous. It's not gotten any better, and I really think it's gotten worse. And we're just talking about academics, brother. We're not, as far as the No Child Left Behind Act, to me, academics are important, but more important is a spiritual devastation that is being wreaked upon Christian students and every child in the public schools.
So many children now are graduating from high school and can't even read.
They have low reading ability. Now, how many of them actually can't read, I don't know, but it's so low they can't. There's many of them that can't function on a college level. That's why they have to go through these bonehead classes. And businesses are becoming aware of it. That's why I think businesses should start looking towards supporting Christian schools and home schools who are proven to work, and quit wasting their money with all these educational gimmicks that they're getting that they're pouring into the public schools. For example, Rome Palank was a sponsor of my school and my county, and they poured a lot of money into the science program. They'd be better off putting their money into something that's proven to work, and that's Christian schools and home schools.
So what you're saying is all of this is being planned to destroy the public schools.
Being planned?
Yeah, these programs that they're doing, certainly they can't be that ignorant.
They're not, in my opinion, planning on destroying the public schools. They just use the money that comes in to promote their philosophy, and they don't care what happens to the public schools.
So it's a don't care attitude, you're saying. The humanist, the battle for humankind's future.
I'll give that quote more specific tonight, but in that example that you're talking about was a quote from a humanist magazine that says the last battle for the minds of humankind will be fought in the classrooms. The humanists already know where the battle is, and in my opinion, they have control of the public schools. We don't need to send our children into their war zone anymore. They have control. We need to get our children out and try to save a remnant, because, Brother Art, as you and I talked about privately, if the Lord Jesus doesn't come back, I really think America is done for.
The tests for the homeschoolers. Can you tell us a little bit about these tests in the Christian schools and so forth?
That relates to what we were talking about a moment ago. The objective test given by this national organization has compared homeschoolers to public school students of the same age, same grade, and the homeschoolers just annihilate them. They score 10% higher on the college entrance exam called the ACT. Also, the Christian schools, and they broke it up into categories, Catholic, Lutheran, and conservative Christian, all three of those score higher on that test than the public school students, and there are more of them in those three categories that are proficient on normal academic skills than are their counterparts in the public schools.
So the studies in grades 4, 8, and 12 in all categories of private schools had higher average scores.
That's right, and that comes from the government's own statistics. And you know, Brother Art, it's interesting because the general public might not realize that, because what comes out in the media is things like an interpretation of those scores. They play with the figures in order to make them look better. They say, well, the private schools don't have to deal with the problem students that we do. It's like this. Let me give this example, and I may repeat this tonight. If we wanted to compare skiing between West Virginia and Florida, well, obviously West Virginia has the edge on skiing, but we could average out the temperatures. We could do away with the terrain and play with the statistics, and we could make it come out like Florida has better skiing than West Virginia. And that's what they do with the test results, and that's what gets reported. People don't have to take my word. They can go straight to the source and see for themselves before the statistics are manipulated which group was the best. Without a doubt, it was the homeschoolers and the private school, Christian school students.
All right. Can you think of anything else you want to share with us?
I want to urge people to come out tonight, and if they don't go to a church regularly, I hope they'll consider coming back to your church, because I was really blessed when I was here and heard you speak last week. I think you have a fine church. I live a little bit far away, but I'm sure going to come back and visit myself, and I want to encourage the listeners to come by and meet you and the other brothers and sisters here. I was really impressed with your children's ministry. You have a heart for children, and I think that Jesus made it very clear that he had a heart and a love for children.
Amen. So this evening then, you're going to talk about more of what we've been talking about here. Now, maybe pastors, will you go to their churches and speak, or will you go to various churches if asked, and do you charge?
I do not charge. I don't even look for a free will offering. Right now, the Lord's given me what I need to function. I'll go anywhere the door's open. I'll sit down with a pastor over a cup of coffee, although I don't drink coffee. I'll drink a glass of milk or something. I'll go to Sunday school classes, church services, wherever I can get an audience to listen, that we need to get our children out of the public schools. I feel that with all my heart, and I plead with people that are parents or grandparents or guardians to start praying about it. Start praying about it, and there's answers for some honest doubts and questions. Don't let your heart be hardened.
Now, you're not against public school teachers, right?
I'm not against public school teachers. Most of them are fine people just trying to earn a living. Some of them are dedicated Christians, but they're still part of a system that they can't control. They can't witness for the Lord if they're Christians, and if they're just honest non-Christians, they still have to teach the curriculum that's handed to them. It comes down from the federal government and is controlled by the humanists and the New Agers.
Well, that's really sad. Well, praise the Lord, and we're happy that you're with us, and hope to see you tonight. God bless you.
Thank you for having me.